Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, how are you doing today? On a scale of 1 to 10. Danvat Pranam, Priyanka Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Sutapa Danvat Pranam. And who else is there? I see Varshana Mataji is also there. Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranams, Mataji. And let's see who all are on Facebook here. I have Dilip Bhai Patel Prabhu, Shraddha-devi Dasi, and Achyuta Radhe, and Sadhana Alan Mataji. Awesome. And I think Ish. And okay, I'm going to mute Deepal's phone because it's getting a noisy background there. Okay, so should we get ready? Should we get going? What do you say? Yes or yes? Sutapa is also there, Priyanka and Ishwari Radha. Okay, I'm going to mute you all and I'm going to give you privileges to unmute yourself. Om Ajnana-timarandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sya. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Padita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Matsamo Nasti Papatma Naparadhi Chakaschana Parihare Pilajame Kim Bruve Purushottama Yuvatinam Yatha Yuni Yunam Cha Yuvato Yatha Manobhi Ramate Tadvan Manome Ramatam Tvai Bhumau Skalita Padanam Bhumi Revavalambanam Tvai Jata Paradhanam Tvameva Sharanam Prabhu Govinda Vallabhe Radhe Prarthaye Tvamaham Sada Tadiyamiti Janatu Govindo Mam Tvaya Saha Radhe Vrindavanadhishe Karunamritavahini Kripaya Nijipadabja Dasyamayam Pradiyatam. Okay, so can we have the reading order?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I just posted. Garima Mataji, will you be able to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, perfect. So reading order is Ishwari Radha Mataji, Sutappa Mataji, I thought Priyanka Mataji, Varshana Mataji, Deepal Bhabhi, Garima Mataji, then I will read, and then Shraddha Mataji.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. And also joining us on Facebook is Shraddha-devi Dasi, Priti Sharma Mataji, in addition to those I had called out before. Okay, so I need to start sharing my screen again so that you can get started with the translation. So I'll bring up the translation towards the top. And who's going to go in next now?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I will Dandat Pranam.
Oh, Ishwari Radha Mataji, awesome. Okay, let's do that then. Ishwari Radhika, prayer coming up on your screen.
O Purushottama, no sinner or offender is as bad as I am. How can I describe my shame? Just as the minds of young ladies take pleasure in a young man, and the minds of young men take pleasure in a young woman, kindly let my mind take pleasure in you alone. Hare Krishna.
Just as the ground is the only support for those whose feet have slipped, you alone are the only shelter for those who have offended you. Hare Krishna.
O Srimati Radharani, beloved of Lord Govinda, this is my request. May you and Lord Govinda consider me one of your assistants.
Who goes there? Do I go after you? No.
Varshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Are you able to hear Varshana Mataji? I'm not able to hear her.
No.
Okay, maybe she's having technical trouble. So we'll give her a chance later.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, now she's come
Hare
back.
Krishna Mataji.
Yes. Go ahead, Varshana. We're not able to hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, Mataji, this internet is very poor. O Shrimati Radharani, O Queen of Vrindavan, you are a river flowing with the nectar of mercy. Please be kind to me and give me a little service at your lotus feet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So time for reflections. And those of you who are watching us on Facebook, please do share your reflections on the Vigyapti Panchika prayers. All right, let's get going.
Kindly let my mind take pleasure in you alone.
Okay.
Karunamrita Vahini.
Karunamrita Vahini. Very nice.
Consider me one of your assistants.
Consider me as one of your assistants. Yeah, you see the subtlety of the prayers. They're not even saying that make me one of your assistants. They're just saying consider me. So which is coming from that, I don't even have a qualifications. We have already listed our qualifications in the first in the first verse of the Vigyapti Panchika prayers, right? Disqualifications or qualifications, right? So with that kind of a resume, all that we can do is just, beg them to consider, and not that I have any qualifications that I'm good enough. I do this, I do that. I drink milk, so I drink only milk, so I can serve Radharani like that. Okay, good. What more?
Tam Eva Sharanam Prabhu. You are the only shelter.
You are the only shelter. Okay. And Achita Radhe Mataji is saying that, oh, Srimati Radharani, Queen of Vrindavan, you are the river flowing of mercy. Clearly, she's memorizing that part. Very good. And then Vidyavadhu Mataji says, Manome Ramatam Tvai. Yes, so that's trending today. What else? And I think Suyash Prabhu also joined us, did he? Yeah, Suyash is also there. Okay, good. Awesome. Any other thoughts before we go to the next prayer?
Tvameva Sharanam Prabhu.
Tvameva Sharanam Prabhu. Sharanam. Yes. Sharanam means what?
You're taking a shelter of Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So let's start sharing the screen.
Radha Vrindavanadhi se Karunamrita Vahini.
Karunamrita Vahini. Yes. Radhe Vrindavanadhi se Karunamrita Vahini. Ishwari Radha also wanted that. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Any other thoughts this morning related to the prayer or not related to the prayer? Okay, whose turn is it to read next?
My turn.
Okay.
Sakrid eva prapanno yas tava smriti cha yachite abhyam sarvada tasmai dadadme itam vratam mama.
Very nice. Okay. And then Suyash will go now, right? No, we have Garima, Suyash, and Shraddha, that order. Okay. Garima, we have
Yeah, Mataji.
okay. Synonyms.
Sakrit, once only, Eva certainly, Prapanna surrendered, yeah, anyone who, Tava yours, Asmi I am, Iti thus, Cha also, Yachite praise, Abhayam fearlessness, Sarvada always, Tasmai unto him, Dadami I give, Etat this, Vratam vow, Mama my.
Translation: It is my vow that if one only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, My dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on.
Very nice. Okay. So let's stop sharing and get some reflections on that.
Once we say that I am yours, my Lord, he immediately takes care of us. Just once.
And from that time, we will be safe.
From that point onwards, we'll be safe.
Yes, Mataji. And which is required at this current moment in situation.
Okay.
And then there is no cheating, right? Because we can surrender once, but we cannot surrender. With the worldly mindedness, sometimes we are not surrender all the time. But Krishna is so merciful that it says that if one surrenders to me seriously only once, and then they have courage for rest of their lifetime. I really like.
Right. Right.
There is hope for us. At least hope for me.
There's a very nice. I'm just going to bring it up. There's some very nice thoughts that Prabhupada shares on these things that we are talking about, and I'll go there momentarily. Let me bring it up, and I'd also like to welcome Vijay Lakshmi Nair, Mataji, Tushar Patel Prabhu. So good to have you, Dr. Patel. And then he is going to give courage, and we will be safe, says Shraddha-devi Dasi. Yes, same thing here. One more time. And we can see how merciful Lord is, only we have to surrender to him seriously. Right, okay. So Prabhupada says here that to live and practice devotional service requires a humble state of mind. What state of mind does it require?
Humble.
Humble state of mind. A devotee is compelled to surrender in different ways while serving in the association of devotees. What do you think? Surrender and association of devotees. What do you think about that? Where's the connection there between surrender and association of devotees?
With the association of devotees, Mataji, you learn how to surrender.
Okay, that's good. So
And then you maintain that mood when you are with the devotees.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Maintain the mood?
I think there is a saying in Gujarati that કાળિયા સાથે ધોળિયો જાય but વાન નહીં સાન આવે. That means if with a black person, if the white person goes, then you get influence with it. So you don't take up the color of the skin, but you take up the qualities of it. So if we stay with the devotees, then by observing them or like just being in the vicinity, you get so much of mercy, knowledge, and strength.
Strength. Okay. So,
And
so that
also, Mataji, it will make you humble. When you are serving a devotee, it makes you humble, which is like a main ingredient of surrender.
yes, yes. And sometimes you might just come across a very strict devotee who doesn't budge, no matter how hard you try, right? And yeah, and then you learn how to surrender, right?
Mataji, the association of devotees not only make us humble, but what I understood that it make us a very good human being also.
Yes, you catch on to the other good qualities, right? Just as an iron rod stays in the association of fire, gets the properties of fire. Yeah, it is a truth, right? So here it says, in his mind. So how are we going to do this? Now the how is coming. In his mind, a person may consider that he is a pure devotee, theoretically considering himself to be fully surrendered. But his humility and tolerance are put to test when directly rendering service in the association of devotees. Was your tolerance ever got tested when you were serving in the association of devotees?
Oh, yes. So many times, Krishna.
I feel, Mataji, I test tolerance of other devotees because I make so many mistakes, especially with you, Mataji.
No. Okay.
Like
So,
always asking for more.
well, this is not obnoxious behavior. Asking for more is not obnoxious behavior. You are lucky.
Yes, I am lucky to have
Although,
associated.
yeah, although this may sometimes cause a strain on the false ego. What is causing a strain in the false ego? That is, my tolerance is being tested, right? And although this may sometimes cause a strain on the false ego, it can actually be beneficial for the advancing devotee. Eventually, when he surrenders, he will become fixed or steady in devotional service in various circumstances. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his instructions for devotees' attitude in the third verse of Sikshastakam. What is the third verse of Sikshastakam? What does it say?
Trinadapi
Tapi
sunishena.
Amanina manadena.
Yes,
Chaitanya.
right. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a
Grass.
Blade of grass.
one should be more tolerant than a
Blade of grass.
one should be more tolerant
Tree.
than a
Oh,
tree. Taror api
Tree.
sahasrana.
Taror.
Sahasrana means tolerant. Right? Trinad api shuni chena means humble. Devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respect to others. Amanina manadena. That's what one of you said. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. A devotee once asked Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada the question, how can a devotee be humble? To which he replied, by being humble. If a devotee fails to be humble, then according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement in verse 3 of Shikshatma prayers, how will it be possible for him to constantly chant the holy names of the Lord? Therefore, devotional service is known to be difficult for persons with an inflated ego, false ego, or an uncontrolled mind. Even great and austere yogis find devotional service difficult to perform if they have not conquered their false ego. Can you give me an example of a great yogi, austere yogi, who had not conquered his false ego?
Durvasa.
There you go. Due to material illusion, one can easily mistake pure devotional service for something material and material energy for pure devotional service if one does not know the science of devotional service. Devotional service can only be understood from a devotee. Only a devotee can know Lord Krishna. So did we recently discuss anything about knowing Krishna?
Yes, Mataji, yesterday's class, Know the Absolute.
To know the absolute. Yes, very right. And what book is that?
Bhagavad-gita,
Bhagavad Gita.
chapter 7.
Chapter 7, right. Okay. Yeah. You know, I had a teacher when I was growing up in the engineering, and he used to teach us coordinate geometry. And so he was teaching us, the third axis. So as kids, we only knew X axis and the Y axis. We would plot charts and graphs, but then he was talking about three-dimensional. He was talking about Z. And he always used to give an example that suppose you're trying to find out the religion of a person. How do you find out what religion he's practicing? So he would say, and this is 35 years ago, more than that. So he would say, okay, you want to find out somebody's religion, you'll ask him, what is your name? You're thinking, maybe I'll find out, right? Yeah, so they'll say, Kalu. Now, how can you figure out from Kalu? Then he would say, all right, what's your dad's name? Lalu. Cannot do that. So you found your x-axis, you found the y-axis, but still you cannot plot where he is, which religion he belongs to. And then he will say, okay, so what is your grandfather's name? All right, Ram Prasad. So now you know. Like that. So he used to teach us that you need to know certain things, right? So opulence of absolute from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 7, right? So whenever we are trying to find out where something belongs to, we have to tell the name of the scripture, maybe the canto, maybe the verse number also, if it's possible, like that, right? So always try to support our statements with the Shastric evidence or the words of a devotee, like we are reading words of Srila Prabhupada. So there it said that devotional service in the purport, Prabhupada explained that if you want to understand Krishna, then only you should hear from Krishna or from his pure devotee, because only a devotee can know Krishna. So back again to this letter. To be assured of success in devotional service, the Vedic literatures recommend Mahajana Yena Gatasa Pantaha, that one should follow the footsteps of great devotional authorities or Mahajan. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada specifically told the devotees of Krishna Consciousness Society he founded that they should follow in the footsteps of Dhruv Maharaj, who followed in the footsteps of 12 Mahajans, who desires to always remain in the association of devotees. However, the principle of always serving Lord Krishna in the association of devotees is universal. However, the principle of always serving Lord Krishna in the association of devotees is universal. What do you say about that? What do you think that statement means?
I think, Mataji, it means that wherever you go in the world, that people, knowingly or unknowingly, they're serving Lord Krishna.
Okay. If anybody wants to elaborate that a little bit more?
Mataji, can you please repeat that line?
Okay. That line says that the principle, however, the principle, so this is after he's saying that Dhruv Maharaj followed the 12 Mahajans. He's saying, however, the principle of always serving Lord Krishna in the association of devotees is universal. The principle of always serving Lord Krishna in the association of devotees is universal. I'm looking for your thoughts and reflections on what does that mean.
Maybe it means that no matter who you are, where you are from, what you have done before in your life, but if you follow the same principles, the results of that will be the same.
Okay, right. So that Prabhupada is saying a few sentences before, right? And he's giving the example of whose example did he give?
Dhruv Maharaj.
Right? And who was he following?
Narada Muni.
Yeah, one of the 12 Mahajans, right? Like that. Okay. So here it is saying that the principle of serving Krishna. So one of the things, important thing is Mahajana means great personality, and we have got 12 listed there, right? So But a great personality can be, we might fail to recognize a great personality, right? How do we know a person is great? From the internet? From television?
From the Shastra,
Those
Mataji.
qualities which
Right?
are
Yeah, you will know that from the Shastras, right? So we don't, but sometimes you might find that the public is public adoration, right? Public is going towards somebody, following somebody, some Bollywood or Hollywood star. People are following that person, right? So we have to remember.
Mother, by being in the association of that person, only we can come to know what he is actually.
Yeah. And is that what you would do? You know about a person?
Sometimes, if possible, yes. But if a person is not known to me, I will not bother about that person.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
he is a devotee, he or she is a devotee, yes, I would like to, you see, ask somebody, some other devotee, that where is she and how is she, and I'll find out and then understand about her, and then with her association, I will pursue further.
Yes. Right. So you have to inquire, and this comes from the Guhyam Akhyati Prichiti, right? So we talk about the 6 items, right, that help you in your devotional service. So you have to ask around, because trying to find out who a person is by first associating might be not a very good idea, right? Because association has its effect. So first test it out, and then you go and make your decisions, whatever you have to make your decisions like that, right? So when you are saying that I want to be in the association of devotees, and I'm going to follow a great personality, then number one is that that personality should be serving Krishna, should not be deviating you from that concept, right? Because when you come to when you come to devotional service, and serving, right? So who do we serve? As part of serving Krishna, what does the Shastra tell us? Who should we serve?
Serve to an exalted devotee.
Yes, it
Guru?
talks about serving a guru, right? It tells you about serving an exalted devotee. So how do you serve an exalted devotee, right? So how do you know what sort of a devotee that person is, right? So there's a very, very nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that talks about that, and I'm just trying to bring that up here.
Mataji,
Mother,
sometimes the person's activity also tells you that how is that person
Yes,
behavior activity.
yes.
and Madhuri, will it be all right if somebody asks the devotee, I mean the devotee asks that senior devotee, that what can I do for you? From his answer itself, I will come to know what kind of a person he or she is.
Yes, 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 very right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just give me a
Mataji,
thing. Yeah.
you just mentioned that the association has its effect. So if we found out later that it is not good, the person association. So if we just uh, make us keep the distance, so that will be again that will be a sin, or is that okay?
Say that last part. I missed you.
Means if we found out that that association is not good for us, or it is not helping us to do that the right path, to
Mhm.
go to the right path, so if we make that keep the distance, will it be okay? Or
Okay. Yeah,
if
absolutely.
he is like feel sad or something, that will affect our karma also. Means
Well, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. Bhagavad-gita 4:17. It's difficult to go through the intricacies of karma. Is a difficult thing, right? So we don't know whether we will be somewhat implicated in breaking the heart of that person. And if you think that that you, by your activity of staying away from that person, it's breaking that other person's heart, then association doesn't mean just talking to somebody. Association means that you are imbibing the qualities, the philosophy of that other person is what association is. For example, sometimes we have to go out and eat during um, official parties and things like that, or if not eat, at least go there into bars and sit in a bar and things like that, although you might not drink, right? But you are there, right? right? So that is not called association, the true sense of it. Association is that, okay, I go with you to the bar and you order a martini and I also order one for myself, like that. That is called association. So if you think that by our association, by your not talking to the other person, it's going to have more bad things, then bad effect on them, then you continue talking, but you don't imbibe their qualities, and which is a bigger thing, right? Which is a bigger test for you. So,
Here is also come the tolerance, Mataji.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, yes, there's like you see, like we have a group of teachers. We actually every month we celebrate birthdays and we have a get together. They all order whatever they have to order. Mataji, I carry my little bit of food in my tiffin, and nobody minds it now. They know it that she carries it. It's okay. So they feel very, but talking to them is okay. And
yes, exactly.
Or order for a vegetarian if you know that place is good for vegetarian food. Then order and pray there and have it. Will that be okay, Mataji?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, and it will depend on a case-to-case basis. Sutapa. It depends on a case-to-case basis, because preachers go and mingle with everybody, right? Those who are preaching. If a preacher says that I'm not going to associate with this person because this person is not a devotee, who will he preach to? Right? Who can they preach to? So they do make that distinction in their mind that this is good and this is bad, but they will continue to associate. And again, we have to know our own capabilities and our own tolerance level as to how much can we tolerate without getting affected by the so-called bad behavior of the other person. So on a case-to-case basis, and you make your own decision, and if you cannot make your own decision, then talk to somebody. So talk to somebody senior, and they'll be able to guide you on that, like that. So yeah, I'm just going to bring a verse here onto your screens. It's a very nice verse. I was reading that last night, and I thought I should share that with you. Whose turn is it to read now?
Suyash Prabhu, did you read?
Yes, I read.
Okay, my turn, Mataji.
All right, so let me share the screen with you here. And let's see, what do I have there? Let's stop to share. Okay.
Rahu gane tapasa na yati na chejya nirvapanad. Mataji, I think not doing it a good job.
Okay, you want to give it to somebody else? Please?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Garima, you want to try?
Yeah. Difficult for me also.
This is difficult.
Rahuganaita tapasa na yati na cheyaya nirvapanad grahadva na chandasa neva jalagini surya vina mahat pada rajobhishekam.
Ekam Rahu gune tapasa nayati na chedyaya nirvapana grihatva na chandasa neva jalagni surya vina mahat padarajo bhishekam. Now let's slow and look at the synonyms of that. Slowly, if a word is big, break it into pieces and then get going on that. Okay. So, Suyash?
Okay.
Ishwari Radha's Mataji start. Mataji, start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
Ishwari, whoever. Yeah.
Rahugana, O King Rahugana, Itat, this knowledge, Tapasa, by severe austerities and penances. Na yati, does not become revealed. Na, not. Cha, also. Ijyaya, by a great arrangement for worshipping the deity. Nirvapanat, or from finishing all material duties and accepting sannyasa. Grihat, from ideal householder life. Va, or. Na, nor. Chandasa, by observing celibacy or studying Vedic literature. Na eva, nor. Jala agni, surya, by severe austerities such as keeping oneself in water, in a burning fire, or in the scorching sun. Vina, without. Mahat, of the great devotees. Pada raja, the dust of the lotus feet. Abhishekam, smearing all over the body. Hare Krishna.
Translation: My dear King Rahugana, unless one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees, one cannot realize the absolute truth. One cannot realize the absolute truth simply by observing celibacy, a brahmacharya, strictly following the rules and regulations of householder life, leaving home as a vanaprastha, accepting sannyasa or undergoing severe penances in winter by keeping oneself submerged in water or surrounding oneself in summer by fire and the scorching heat of the sun. There are many other processes to understand the absolute truth, but the absolute truth is only revealed to one who has attained the mercy of a great devotee.
What do you say?
We need devotee association, or not only the devotee, great devotee means exalted devotee. And
Yeah.
so whatever we did. Okay, Mataji, Varsha Mataji, go ahead.
No, Mataji, you please carry on. Complete your thought.
Mataji, what I have understood that you cannot do the devotional service all alone sitting at home. So if you pray, listen, whatever you do, you need devotee association. Without that, you cannot upgrade yourself to that position level, higher level.
Yes, yes. So you see how important this is. There's a verse in Brahma Samhita that says Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Sam Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Premanjana, they take the ointment of love. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. So the eyes are smeared with the ointment of love. And in the heart of the santas, the Lord always resides. See, if you take this, if you take association of such a person in whose heart Krishna is residing, what's going to happen to you, right? So it's very, very important. And sometimes people might just think that I'm going to do pious activities. Can you give me some example of pious activities that one can do?
Donating somewhere money
Donating
or
money,
food or
food,
clothes to needy.
clothes. Yeah.
Preaching the holy name of the Lord.
Is that a pious activity?
No, that's above pious. It's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
feeding the poor, feeding the hungry.
Right. Yeah. Like that. So these are pious activities: going, cleaning the rivers, cleaning the roads, trash removal, litter removal from freeway, not safe way, things like that, right? So these are all pious activities that you do. So one might think that I'm going to do pious activities, I'm just going to stay at home and I'm going to find the absolute truth. No, it's not going to happen, right? To be able to understand the absolute truth, you have to go to the association of devotees. Without that, you will not get that knowledge. And this is Rahugana Tapasana Yati Nachejaya. So he's who's talking? This is Bharat Maharaj. You remember our Bharat Maharaj? The one who, what happened to Bharat Maharaj?
Bharat Maharaj,
He
Mataji,
got attached to the deer.
Yeah. So, Varshana, you were going to say the same thing?
Yes, Mataji, he got attached to the deer and started looking after him.
Okay.
And yes, Mataji.
Good. So he was in the association of a
Deer.
Dear.
right. So then he dies and he becomes a deer, and then he dies again, and he becomes Jad Bharat in the next life. So he's already exalted. He was one of the 100 sons of Rishabdev, the first son of Rishabdev. And it's very interesting. Rishabdev is an incarnation of the Lord, and so there are teachings of Rishabdev to his sons, and he gave teachings. He taught all his 100 sons. Although his 100 sons were already exalted, they were already exalted devotees, but he gave teachings to them because he wanted to set an example of how a father should behave. What sort of a teaching a father should give to his sons, right? Nowadays, a father will give them the tips and tricks of the business, or how to apply for this job and how to do this and which colleges to apply and things like that. Fathers usually are restricted this. But the real education a father is supposed to give to the children is how they can get out of this cycle of birth and death. And actually, later on, in the same canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that if you are not capable, if you're not capable of helping your ward, that is whoever is in your charge, under your protection, if you're not able to help them get out of this cycle of birth and death and go back to Godhead, then you should not become one of the following. And that is, you should not become a spiritual master. You should not become a father. You should not become a mother. You should not become a husband. And you should not become a respectable demigod. Right? And by respectable demigod, it just doesn't mean the devtas. It also means that people whom you adore and who respect, on whom you're putting on a very high pedestal. For example, I can put the president of my country on a very high pedestal, right? Or my king on a very high pedestal. Well, if you are in a position where people are giving you so much, then you should not be there. You should not accept all those respect from those people unless you are doing something by way of helping them get out of this cycle of birth and death. So you see how strong this statement is. Spiritual master, we all understand that spiritual master is the one who helps you get out of the cycle of birth and death. But together with the spiritual master, 4 other people are listed. There's father, there's mother, husband, and respectable demigod. 4 more people are there. So it's not easy, right? So anyway, so his father, King Bharat's father, gave a lot of very good teaching. They're known as teachings of Rishabdev to his sons. They're fantastic teachings. And they are in the 5th canto, chapter number 4, I think 4 and 5. They continue like that. But anyway, so he gave teachings. And one of the teachings that he gave to all his sons was that this Bharat, your eldest brother Bharat, is a devotee of the Lord. And if you just serve him, then you are serving the Lord. Why? Because we just read this verse, right? Bina mehat pad rajobhishekam. That whatever I have told you, whatever austerities you can perform. And what were the examples of some of the austerities that were given there in the verse that we read? Just
Hare Krishna, Mataji. You see, standing in the river in the winter season, and then standing in the, close to fire in the summer. So doing those kind of austerities don't take you anywhere.
Those were the 2 that were listed, right? So I was asking for just a list. So 2, and then what was the third one? Jalagni Surya.
Standing in the scorching heat and standing in the burning fire during summer seasons.
Yeah, standing under the sun. Surya. Surya means sun, right? So some people will go and do that. So they will sit, either they will go under the water and they will meditate there, or they will stand, they will put a circle of fire around themselves, which Varshana said, coming close to a fire, right? Or under the scorching sun. When the sun is at its zenith, they will go there and they will do the tapasya under the sun like that, right? So he's saying that through none of these are going to help you at all. Bina mahat pada rajobhishekam, unless you roll in the dust from the lotus feet of a devotee, right? So that much strong is the statement. Bina mahat pada rajobhishekam. And who is saying that? This is Bharat Maharaj in their third body as Jad Bharat. He's telling that to King Rahugana, right? He's giving that experience. Why? From personal experience. Personal experience in his two previous life before, when he was King Bharat, he was in the association of a deer, right? And then in the next life, he becomes the son of a deer, right? He becomes a baby deer, and so he knows that his mother is not in a position um, to get him out of the cycle of birth and death, right? So, well, what to do? Mother is an animal, so he gives up his mother. He discards the mother. He doesn't take the milk from the mother and gives up the body like that. So again, 5 people listed that if they can't deliver, there's no, you should not do that. So how much responsibility it is there on the guru, on a husband, on a mother, father, or on a respectable demigod to help people go back to Godhead. That is the biggest duty that you have in life. That is the main duty, and everything should just surround around it. And when you look at these these literature, how much of Vedic literature is there? Do you ever get a feeling that you don't have sufficient time to read all the literature as much as you would want to? Do you get that
Oh,
feeling?
yes.
All the
Yes.
time, Mataji. And what we read, how much we remember and how much we retain,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then how much we practice
Yes.
in our life.
Yes. Right? So this is the sad part, right? This is the sad part, that we don't have the time and we are short-lived. So we don't even have a long life that I will spend 60,000 years in studying the Vedas or studying this and studying that. So that is the fact of life, and that is the situation where we are in. But luckily for us, something else has been given to us, and which is the Mahamantra, that you just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and do that. But you see that even if you're just chanting the mantra, you require some secondary knowledge also to be able to chant the mantra properly, right? To understand, why am I chanting? For whom am I chanting? Why should I chant the names of Krishna? So you need to read the literatures. So as you can see, that how we are in right now, how we are and where we are is basically, so much entrenched in the material life. So much that right from the child of 2.5 years, or when the child is sent to preschool, until 26, they're just reading about material energy, thoroughly entrenched in material energy. No time at all for doing the scriptures. And the support system is also not there. I mean, whatever little I read about the scriptures came from my English reader or Hindi reader like that. Or there was a book called Hamare Purvaj, so there was something about, Dadachi and, those kind of things were there. But nowadays, that's also not supported, because this is Kali Yuga, and the first thing that the governments and all governments are saying is that you will not talk about God in the schools. So look at that. Look at that situation. The sorry situation. It's a very sad situation that we are in. Vina mahat padarajobhishekam. Well, if a great singer, a rock singer who is making all kinds of gestures while singing, and is all jumping and singing with a mic and jumping from one corner of the stage to another corner of the stage, and then he takes off his sweaty shirt, which is full of sweat and maybe some alcohol fumes as well, because to be able to sing with that kind of a gusto, you need some alcohol in your body. So they are usually drunk or under some kind of a drug. And so all that excreta is coming out of the body, getting attached to the shirt. And when they throw the shirt in the crowd, there's a mad scramble for that. And if you get a tiny piece of that shirt, which is, drenched in urine, which is another word for perspiration, we come home and we frame it, right? That's the sad state of affairs. And this verse is actually saying, Vina Mahat Pad Rajobhishekam. You should be bathing in the dust of the lotus feet of these people. So you see how far removed we are from.
So this is what Prabhupada says, Mataji, that this is misguided civilization by all these.
Yes, very good. Misguided civilization. And since you're talking about misguided civilization, what is the book that provides them guidance?
Bhagavad-gita.
Yes, and?
Bhagavad-gita.
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So it's going to give you, and it's going to distinguish illusion from reality. Illusion from reality. Bhagavatam will do. Bhagavad Gita will do, right? Illusion. Arjuna is completely illusion in chapter number 2, right? He doesn't know. He's saying, I should not kill this, I should not kill that. Yeah, it's okay. The Shashan, whatever he did to my wife, that's fine. Everything is fine. How will I enjoy? I know I have got a bad set of relatives, but I need to have my get-togethers. I need to have my parties. How will I have all of those if they're all dead like that, right? So it's very, very important. Devotee association is very important. As long as we have these devotee associates, as long as we have that with us, is what we should be thankful for. The devotee association that we have, right? I mean, look at the disciples of Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, right? How much they are missing devotee association. Okay, so let's talk about reading again a little bit more from the Bhagavad Gita. Now that we know that this book is going to remove the illusion that we have. So whose turn is it to read? We had gone back to the reading order from the beginning, right? So Tapa had read and Priyanka read. Varshana, is it your turn now?
It's my turn, Mother.
Okay.
I didn't read.
You didn't read, sorry about that. Okay. So you want things in the middle of the screen, right? Okay.
Yeah, morning I'm okay. When I'm reading from phone, that's when I need it in the middle.
All righty. Okay. So let's get going. Yeah.
Chapter 2, Contents of the Gita summarized. Text 1. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Text 2. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy.
Hare Krishna. Text 3. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading importance. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Text 4. Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counter-attack with arrows in battle? Men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship. Hare Krishna.
Text 5. It would be better to live in the world by begging than to live at the cost of lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Text 6. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield.
Is it Khati Mataji or mine?
Very much yours.
Okay. Text 7, right?
Yes.
Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Text 8. I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven.
Is it my turn, Mataji, now?
Yes, after Garima Siyaj, Prabhu.
Uh, Text 9, Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Text 10, O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief stricken Arjuna.
Text 11. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be.
Text 13. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Text 14. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Sayana Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, the Kathy Mataji didn't read.
Kathy, did we skip over you?
Yes, Mataji. It's okay. I'm in a noisy background. So
Okay.
can you
So,
hear me? Or I
Yeah.
can
Yeah, read. Kathy, doesn't matter, noisy background.
yeah, please read.
Oh
How much
best
you?
text 15, right?
Yes.
O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Thank you, Sutapa Mataji.
No, it's okay. Anytime. Take 17. That which pervades the entire body, you should know how to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Text 18. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Hare Krishna.
Text 19. Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain. Text 20. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
Text 21. O, o Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Text 22. As a person puts on new garments, giving up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and the useless ones. Hare Krishna.
Text 23. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burnt by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. The individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty arm.
Text 27. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Text 28. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation?
Text 29. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Text 31. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. Text 32. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Hare Krishna.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Text 35. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Text 36. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Hare Krishna.
Text 37. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Text 38. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin.
Okay, good. Let's get into the verse of today, which is verse number 26. Whose turn is it now to read? After Priyanka, who goes? Varshana Mataji. Oh. Can you hear us, Varshana
I
Mataji?
don't see her on the call.
Wow.
I think Mataji, oh yeah, she's back now. She's back.
Okay, good. She's unmute though. Varshana Mataji, please unmute yourself and read.
Yes, Mataji. अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैनं शोचितुम् अर्हसि.
Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Synonyms is going to give?
Atha, if, however, cha, also, inam, this soul, nitya jatam, always born, nityam, forever, va, either, manyase, you so think, mrityam, dead, tatha api, still, tavam, you, mahabaho, O mighty armed one, na, never, inam, about the soul, sochitam, to lament, arhasi, deserve.
Very nice.
If translation, if however you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed.
Purport. There is always a class of philosophers, almost akin to the Buddhists, who do not believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-gita, it appears that such philosophers existed, and they were known as the Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. Such philosophers maintain that life symptoms take place at a certain mature condition of material combination. The modern material scientists and material philosophers also think similarly. According to them, The body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage, the life symptoms develop by interaction of the physical and chemical elements. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo religions, now becoming fashionable in America, are also adhering to this philosophy, as are the nihilistic devotional Buddhist sect.
I go right after Suyash. Okay. Even if Arjuna did not believe in the existence of the soul, as in the Vaibhashika philosophy, there would still have been no cause for lamentation. No one laments the loss of a certain bulk of chemicals and stops discharging his prescribed duty. On the other hand, in modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vaibhashika philosophy, so-called soul or Atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. Next one, please.
So in any case, whether Arjuna accepted the Vedic conclusion that there is an atomic soul or he did not believe in the existence of the soul, he had no reason to lament. According to this theory, since there are so many living entities generating out of matter every moment, and so many of them are being vanquished every moment, there is no need to grieve for such incidents. If there were no rebirth for the soul, Arjuna had no reason to be afraid of being affected by simple reactions due to his killing his grandfather and teacher. Next person can read.
Suttapal Mataji, please go ahead and read. I won't be able to read now.
Okay. But at the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjuna as Mahabahu, mightily armed, because he at least did not accept the theory of the Vaibhishikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna belonged to the Vedic culture, and it behooved him to continue to follow its principles.
Okay, good. So now time to reflect on what you read in the verse and then this chapter, this particular book also.
I had that point, means Arjuna has no reason to be afraid because afraid of killing his grandfather, because the soul is not born or die.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Anybody else would like to share reflections?
So Mataji, little confusing verse. I feel like Krishna is now saying that if the soul dies also, then also there is no need for lamentation. Why did Krishna confuse it? Let it be the same philosophy, like same soul will never die, and the body will die. Soul will always remain eternal, and the body can change continuously.
Yes, it's a very, very valid point that you bring up, right? It looks like that Krishna has now gone over to the other side, right? After speaking for so many verses. And let's just bring up those verses here. In any case, I intended to, and that's why I have them ready here on the screen for you. And so let's look at what does he talk about the soul, okay? So yes, he's all right. So he's hinting here, right? From text number 12, he was saying that, okay, each one of us just read one of these verses and let's talk about what he has been telling about the soul. So when is, never was a time when I did not exist. So here I'm taking this verse, not all of these kings, nor in future shall any one of us cease to be. So obviously he's not talking about the bodies of the kings and Arjuna's body. He's talking about Arjuna as a soul and the kings as individual souls. And he's saying that they are going to live forever, right? So here, from here, you're getting that the soul is eternal. Okay, right. Then what is whose turn is to go and do the next one?
Mine, Mataji.
Okay.
Text 13. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death, A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
Okay, so what characteristics
Uh-huh.
of the soul do we get from here?
That soul never dies. It just keep passing from one body to another body at that when the
Right.
body is dying.
Okay, right. Text 14. Whose turn is it?
Yes, Mataji. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception or shine of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
Okay, so what is being said about the soul here?
Mataji, actually about the soul, nothing has been said here. The non-permanent appearance, happiness and distress, uh, and disappearance in due course of time, uh, uh, like the seasons, you say summer and winter.
So who's feeling the happiness and distress?
The soul is feeling.
So there is something being said about the soul, right? In
Yes,
this,
yes.
right?
And
And
indirectly it is being said.
yeah, and then what more is being said? What
They
is it?
arise from sense perception.
What more is being said?
You have to tolerate them, learn to
You have to
tolerate them.
tolerate them. Yeah, the soul has to learn to tolerate, right? The
Yeah.
happiness and distress, which will keep coming like seasons. Okay. And then what does it say? Text 15. Whose turn is it?
Deepak,
Well, mother.
correct.
Deepa, are you in a position to read?
I'm sorry, I was speaking on mute.
Okay.
O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation.
Right. So what is being said up for the soul here regarding the soul?
That it has to be detached from happiness and distress. Only then he will be eligible for liberation.
Right. So it is telling how the soul can be liberated, right? From here. Okay. Next verse.
Text 16. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non existence, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So here Krishna is saying that those who have done the research and they have figured out finally that the material body is keeps on changing and the soul is eternal and there is no change in the soul.
Okay, good. Then next.
Text 17. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So here, first thing that's pointed out is soul is pervading all throughout the body. Another aspect is no one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So soul is imperishable as well as indestructible.
Yes, and it pervades the body, right? Okay, good. Who comes next? I go after him. I already did one verse, so next in line can pick it up.
Which verse, Mataji? I'm sorry.
Ishwari
Yes.
This 18, text number 18.
Okay. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. So he's saying that this body, regardless whether you take part in this fighting or not, is going to come to an end. So you
Right.
might as well fight.
Right. And then what is it telling you about the soul here?
That nobody can destroy it. No weapon, nothing. I mean, yeah, it cannot be
No,
destroyed.
immeasurable.
No, here. Right. Yeah. What is it telling you?
Immeasurable.
Immeasurable and eternal.
Yeah, indestructible, as Ishwari Radha said, indestructible. And then also it is immeasurable, right? Okay. Okay, next words.
Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, not he who thinks it slain, is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor in slain.
Okay. So what is about the soul?
It's not slain, Mother.
And it is not slain, and also it does not slay. So it does not kill, and it is not killed. Okay. Then next.
Text 20. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
Okay. So all of it is about the soul, right? Directly it's saying
Right.
unborn, does not die, all right?
Hmm.
Original, primeval, right? Okay. Then,
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So here, Krishna tells Arjuna that how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, I mean, he tells him, since the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable.
tell us what is the word telling about the soul in a
The
precise.
verse tells that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable.
Okay. And then?
And it cannot be killed by
Yeah.
anyone.
Very good. Okay. Right. All right. So there's a little bit of a repetition here, right? Because in the previous verses also, Krishna had said something similar. All right. Then next verse.
As a
Deepak,
person as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So
Right.
here they are mentioning how the soul can move from one body to another body, just like we change the clothes.
Right. Okay. Who comes in next?
text 23. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withheld by the wind. So talking about soul, that it cannot be cut, it cannot be burned, it cannot be moistened, and not it cannot be withered.
Right. So uh, so you see, it's talking about what? That there is no effect of the material elements on the soul. That you cannot take a sword which is majorly made of earth, and then cut a soul to pieces, right? I mean, sometimes people, could also just argue, and they can say that, well, haven't you seen earthworms? If you cut the earthworm into two pieces, both the pieces are there. But it's not like that. When you cut an earthworm into two pieces, only the part which has the head side of it, that part will regenerate and grow the rest of the body. The other piece which has been cut will just move for a certain time because it's still under the influence of the soul. But after that time, that other piece just dies, like that. So the soul has got to be there and in the body, for the body to live, to show the symptoms of life. And then also we cannot take any instrument and cut the soul into pieces like that. So we have and we said, right, it cannot be cut into pieces, cannot be dried, and cannot be moistened, and so on and so forth. Okay, whose turn is it next to read? 24.
Suej Prabhu.
Yeah. So yes.
Yes, Mataji, I'm sorry. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. This is a summary of all the 6 verses above.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so, unbreakable, insoluble, unburnable, undryable, if that is a word. Um, it is everlasting, eternal, present everywhere. Everywhere means all pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
Right? So, and then is the verse of today. So can you read that also?
Yes, text 25. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Okay, so now Krishna seems to have taken a complete somersault in the different direction, and after eulogizing about the soul and its indestructibility and its capability of not being killed or making anybody else to kill and things like that, now he's saying, okay, if you think like that, right? So this is we have to understand the situation that is going on in the war field, that Arjuna, who was the biggest candidate to help win the war, is saying that I don't want to fight. So Krishna, as you can see, in how many verses were there, from 12 to 25, almost 14 verses are there. And these 14 verses, he has been talking about the soul, and the soul, right? And emphasizing the fact that you are the body, you are not the body or the soul, you're not the body or the soul. Wise people do not lament about it, and so on and so forth. Krishna's main agenda is to make Arjuna get up and fight the war, so that he aligns his plan with Krishna's plan. And that is not happening. So now he's trying another technique, right? Because sometimes what happens is that as children, sometimes we, we want something and we pester our parents to give it to us. And as parents, we might be saying that, no, this is not good. No, this is not good for you. Give me an example of something a child can, say that I want it. And
A knife.
A knife. Okay. Let's take something a little bit less less dangerous. Maybe
A
some
candy.
candy. Okay, like here we go. All right, candy is safe. Okay. So the child is saying that, I want candy. And obviously you don't want the child to have candy. So what are some of the things that you will say to the child?
Let me give you some gulab jambu instead.
Okay, so you'll say, try to substitute, but he say, no, I want candy. They don't like gulab jamuns.
You will develop toothache or cavity.
Okay, so you start saying that you will develop cavities, okay? And then?
And then finally, I'll tell the child, okay, take it. If cavity happens, you only have to go to the doctor. He will only, give you injection, and he will take out your this root of this, and you only have to suffer. Okay. Take it, enjoy.
Okay. All right. So what you're saying is that you're saying that number one was that if you take candy, then you'll get cavity. Number two is that taking candies will lead to cavities, and cavities will be painful and will require a visit to the dentist, right? It will be painful for you, right? So we are still dissuading them in a different way, right? We're still telling them not to have the candy. Right? So these are some of the things that you can tell them. You can also say you'll become hyperactive. It's time for you to go to sleep. Then you won't be able to sleep. Then tomorrow morning you will be not well slept and you won't feel good. You'll feel cranky and so on and so forth. So you can tell them all that, right? So, and the child is still not listening. So sometimes then what do? Then we try, other, I know that that's a war. That's a fight. That's a battle. I'm not going to win, right? So what then we do is that then we start doing the negotiation and we start doing the bargaining with the child. So we'll say, okay, all right, you want to have a candy? Let's have a candy. But here comes the but, because that's the negotiation piece of it. But okay, now you do this. If you load the dishwasher, I will give you the candy. If you take out your notebook and start doing your homework, I'll give you the candy. You see? So the idea is that, okay, let me first pacify this child, right? By engaging that child in doing something good. And then I will again bring my point, but at a later time when the child is a little bit more, satisfied, let him eat the candy. And I can tell him the bad parts of the candy later on, maybe after he starts feeling a little bit of that, like that. So similarly here also, it is very difficult, like we just read in the letter from Srila Prabhupada, where he said that when we are working with devotees, our false ego comes into picture, and it becomes very difficult for us to tolerate anything. And that poor Arjuna has tolerated 14 verses of heavy dose from Lord Krishna, right? So after telling him everything like that, Krishna is also now giving that other option, that okay, Even after 14 such verses, you're not saying, okay, let me go and fight. All right, so let me now approach it from a different angle. And let us now assume that whatever I said, candies are bad. Let me just double back on that, and I'm going to say, okay, let us just think that if the soul really dies, if the soul is really born. So Krishna is now approaching from a totally different angle. And he's also addressing other people who are there on the battlefield, who might not all be subscribing to the philosophy that I'm not the body and I'm the soul, because he talks about Vaibhasika and Lokayitas, right? Prabhupada says that those kinds of people were still there. That kind of philosophy was prevalent. There were people who are thinking of an analytic thing, that there's, soul also dies. And so Krishna is talking about that, and he's saying, okay, let's for a short while just assume that whatever you are saying, and that is totally on a bodily platform, that this is my grandfather and this is my teacher, and if they're just the bodies and they were born, and then if I kill them, they will die, and that's it, because there is no soul, right? Or even if they have a soul, you think that there is a soul, but the soul also gets born. Somehow or the other, we are thinking that when the body is conceived, the soul also gets conceived at that time. So if you're thinking like that, then he's saying, then what is the problem for you to lament, right? Because if it is something was created, then it'll get created again, right? Something was created, something died, so what's the big deal? What is there to worry about? Then everything in any case is temporary. It is born and it dies. So then it doesn't matter whether you kill them now or you kill them later, because the soul is also going to die, the body is also going to die. So Krishna is using a very different tactic here in this particular verse by twisting it and trying to make Arjuna understand. Right? Because, in the very next verse that's going to come, and I'm going to read from that verse, he says, one who has taken his birth is sure to die. Now it's entirely up to you how you want to define who is the one. If you're saying that, one means the soul and one also means the body, then he's saying, okay, one who has taken a birth is sure to die. Because how can you have the concept of birth without the concept of death? Isn't it? If something is being born, right? Is being created, there must be a destruction also associated there, like that. So he's saying one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after that, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, do not lament. So now giving him, acceding to his, to the other thought that could be going inside Arjuna's mind, and saying like, what if the soul also dies? He says, okay, if the soul also dies, then kill it, because that is your duty right now. You are a Kshatriya, that's what your duty is. So do not lament in doing that. But good observation, Sutapa Mataji, for what you said. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So Mataji, in any case, this is what he is trying to tell Arjuna, that so what if even if the soul also dies with the body, this is again going to take birth. So what is there to lament? They are only going to take birth again.
Yes.
So,
cycle.
So this is a cycle. And another thing he's added that you are a Kshatriya and it is your duty to kill, so might as well kill them.
Yes.
Is it right, Mataji?
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Correct. And I'm just looking at the verse, at the comments that have come in here. So we have Soni Mataji joined us over there, and Bhumi Mataji is also there. Dandavat Pranam, Bhumi Mataji. So good to have you here. Welcome, Bhakta Rohit. And Achyuta Radha says that we can know a Mahajan how he acts. Yadi yadi achareti shrestha saddad evato jana. Yeah, so about the Mahajanas, it says that people, the verse that you quoted is that whatever the great people do, then the common men follow them. Yeah, and Smriti Agarwal, welcome. Can attending satsanga help is the question Vijay Lakshmi Nair Mataji is asking. And yes, satsanga, good quality satsanga definitely helps here. And welcome Namisharendra Das Prabhu to the call. Ruchi Verma, namaste to you. And Ruchi Verma Mataji is asking us, Mataji, how can we live according to the teachings of Bhagavad-gita in practical life. Well, Ruchi Mataji, the Bhagavad-gita actually, there's nothing impractical in Bhagavad-gita. So just now, Krishna, we read from text 27 where Krishna is saying that in the unavoidable discharge of your duties. So duty is talking about a very practical aspect of my life, right? In the unavoidable discharge of your duties, do not lament. The Bhagavad Gita actually is the manual of life. We saw in chapter 1 and in the beginning of chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna is trying to run away from his duty and he's saying, I don't want to fight. And Krishna is the practical one who is giving him practical advice on how he can fulfill his duty, which might appear to be very onerous at that time. It's a humongous task. How can I do that? How can I kill? Then Krishna is telling him that, you can't kill. The soul cannot kill anybody or cause anyone to be killed. Soul is immortal. And in the subsequent chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is going to give him more and more and more and more knowledge about, how to handle the fact that the living entity is here in this material world. And through his teachings, which we call as Bhagavad Gita as the manual of life, how through his teachings we can live a very fulfilling life here and then also go back to Godhead at the end of it. And after telling Arjuna all these things, Krishna doesn't just say, okay, now I have told you, Sarv Dharman Paritajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, that I have told you, surrender me, and now you surrender. He doesn't do that. He respects the intelligence that we all have. And he says, now, whatever you think you need to do, you do. So he still leaves the decision to us like that. So Bhagavad Gita is very, very practical, very, very practical book, which will tell us about that. Then Vidyavadhu Mataji says that after explaining the qualities of the soul in so many ways, Krishna says that whether Arjuna considers the soul to be immortal, Vedic injunction, or considers it to die along with the body, or does not believe in the existence of soul, he has no reasons to lament. He has but to fight, being a Kshatriya. Yeah, so yeah, that's the verse there. Thank you. And then Ruchi Sharma says, video games. Okay. Yeah, she's talking about what a child can, really pester you for. Video games, yes. And then Pooja Pandey Mataji, thank you for joining the call. And then Ruchi said that if a child is asking for video games, we justify it by giving examples that video games are bad. Yeah. Your concentration, your reflexes, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's addictive. Yeah, video games are addictive. You can talk about that. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we are past 8 o'clock right now. Any last reflections or any quick short question? I can take that before calling it a day on this class. Are we good? Are we convinced? We are the soul.
Yes, we are convinced, Mataji.
Ready to go have breakfast now? Okay. All righty. So I will take your leave. Thank you so much for your fantastic questions and reflections and participation in this discussion. Today is what? Today is Wednesday, right? So yes. In the evening today, we're going to have some fantastic Krishna Katha by His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. It starts at 7 o'clock in the evening on the ISKCON Silicon Valley channel.
And tomorrow is Ekadasi, Mataji.
There you go. Tomorrow is Ekadashi. Fantastic. So we'll get to read from Bhagavad Gita from Ekadashi.
Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha go premanand